Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very good, very good.
So I was telling everyone that today is our last IG Live Community Friends of the Year, and we're closing with a beautiful guest, and is our friend La Petite Pétra, and my friend Kirster. Your name is
Christelle, if you're saying it in French, but
Christelle.
Crystal is how I go if you're saying it in English.
And our friend is talking to us from Haiti.
No, I'm talking from Miami today. Talking
Oh,
from
okay.
Miami, but
Okay.
generally in Haiti, yes.
Yes. So I met her at the Miami Book Fair, and I was blown away with all the resources and her energy, most of all, her passion for teaching languages. But I will leave her up to her to explain to you guys what she has available. And first of all, I want to let you know that she is a go-getter. She is a wonderful example of a woman who sees a need in her community, and she's like, hey, I need to do something about it. She is a teacher. She is also an accountant, and she is trying to do all her best to help her community and children around the world to have better options about how to learn French and Creole.
Absolutely. And my ultimate goal is to inspire as many people as possible to have the skills that they need to do what they need to do in life. And that's my overarching goal. You said that I teach, and yes, generally I teach skills that are designed to empower people to in their profession and their professional skills. And this is my project for children, where my at the first collection that came out was all in French, and it was to support the learning of children who are learning how to read in French. I also happen to believe that language makes a difference. When you do speak many different languages, it opens so many doors. I'm a French speaker. I couldn't be talking to you today if I did not speak English, and it would be at least a lot more difficult. So this is why I decided to incorporate language into this project, and I introduced at the Miami Book Fair the bilingual versions of my books, which as of now are available in French English and Creole English, and hopefully in the future Spanish English.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yes.
But one of the reasons I really love what Kirstel is doing is because here in South Florida, we live in a very diverse place, and we have a lot of friends and community members that their background is Haitian. So a lot of times parents complain, like they say, well, we are not finding these books. We want to keep our language, but where are the resources? And lo and behold, it's really hard sometimes to find quality resources to keep teaching children their heritage language. And so I had a question before our IG Live about some people were unsure about, like what's the difference between French and Creole. So I told them that we were going to address that today.
Absolutely. And Creole is it's a different language. Yes, there are common roots, but Creole it's a separate language from French. If you do speak French and you're trying to learn Creole, it will be much easier, but it's not because you speak French that it means that you speak Creole. It is our national language in Haiti. Creole is our national language. Officially, French is also an official language, but a minority of the population speaks French compared to Creole. And I know that a lot of people living in the diaspora, they really want to keep that heritage, and part of your heritage is your language, because especially certain expressions cannot be properly translated, and a lot of your habits, a lot of what you believe, and things that are part of the way you grew up can only be expressed in those expressions that really bring out the essence of what group of people, families, cultures want to communicate. So I do think it is very important to keep the language in a family. Yes, if you only speak Creole, you might feel limited because there's not so many resources available in Creole. But when you have that on top of other languages like English or, well, French, Spanish, then it only makes your experience on earth richer and your communication with other people richer.
Yes, and definitely, I think it's such an important part of, like as raising children that are global citizens to teach them about their own heritage. And I think it's such an important part, like, for example, for me, it's such a beautiful thing that you reflected the Haitian flag in your books, because there's so many kids that are not seeing themselves represented in a lot of the books that they read every day in their schools. And I think this is just a little part that authors and parents can do to make them feel like, yes, you are also part of something that is very important and your culture is very rich. And I think in many layers, we are trying to do that through the books and through education and be civilizing, like these kids that are, what do you say? These kids are multilingual. A lot of the people that I know personally from Haiti, they speak more than 3 languages, by the way. They speak French, Creole. A lot of them speak Spanish because
Yes.
Haiti share the same island as Dominican Republic. So most of them speak or understand Spanish, by the way. And
Absolutely.
They speak English.
Yes, and I've heard said that Haitians do have a talent for learning language. I don't know if it's by necessity or genetically. My guess would be it's by necessity, because if you only speak Creole, it's very limited the number of people outside of Haiti that you can communicate with. So you're forced to learn another language, and if you do speak more than one language, it is easier to learn a third language, especially if you learn a second language early on in your life. So in terms of representation, yes, I thought it would be important to include the flag on the books that are available in Creole. And especially, it wasn't only because it is available in Creole. You showed this book, which is the one about Jacques Mel, but it also talks about one aspect of the culture. And this book is about the carnival, Haitian carnival, and the Haitian carnival in Jacques Mel is particularly beautiful. And my goal was to inspire children who are of Haitian descendants to want to go back someday to visit Haiti. Of course, we're having troubled time. It's troubled times right now in Haiti. Maybe this Christmas would not be the best Christmas to visit.
Yes.
But we do hope that things will get better. And, that the Haitian diaspora will be inspired to come and visit one day. If it's not to visit a grandparent, a cousin, it's to visit where they're from, where their family is from. So one thing that I made sure that I included in every single book that is from about the Haitian culture is a map of the country.
Oh, wonderful.
And I tried to locate, okay, in this book, we are talking about Jacques Mel. And I say, this is where Jacques Mel is located, so that Haitians can start to orient themselves on the map of Haiti, and they can ask their parents and their friends, where am I from on this map? Where's my family from? So that's for, the Haitian books. We have another book which is about La Gonave. And for those who know the map of Haiti, I'm sure you've noticed the little island that is out, right there in the Gulf of Haiti. So now you have that little island, and this story talks about a little experience visiting the island. Now, what happens a lot of times when if you go as a visitor to visit, you won't necessarily go on the island. People will visit the coast and the beaches of that island before they go on the grounds and visit La Gonave itself. So this is more about the experience of the beaches around Lagunave, which is absolutely beautiful. And my goal is to really inspire those Haitian descendants to come and visit when things are good, to want to come and visit, even if it's the beautiful beaches of Haiti. And so the other one that you have about in this collection is this one, which is about like the Citadel Henry, also known as Citadel La Feuillère, but the more common names that they use today is Citadel Henry. And it's up in the north. So again, one more time, I will locate the Citadel on the map. And and then I talk about a few facts because the Citadel is known and is an important element of the monuments that are preserved in the Americas. So I talk a few facts about how long it took to build the Citadel, who was behind the construction of the Citadel, how long it took to build it. So I talk about a few facts. Of course, I cannot go into too many details because the public that is the kids that are
but I think
aiming
it's
at
so
these books are young,
important.
and they can only absorb so much.
Yes, there is so much history in Haiti. And a lot of times what we hear is very in the surface. And also because I have to point out, like Haiti, it has so many cultural aspects. It's not only one cultural aspect. There's so many things going on. And the only way we can, show that to new generations is like using books like yours that are authentic. Like I find a lot of times, and I find it problematic when you see a lot of, multicultural line of books that when you realize, the authors are not even people from those places. They're just kind of trying to make like a very, very brush off resource over an entire country. So you are creating authentic resources for parents and educators that are in such a need of these things nowadays, by the way. And I'm not Haitian, but in my community I have a lot of Haitian friends, and I feel the necessity of really understanding more about them, more about their culture, and also loving their vibrancy of culture. Because what we're trying to do here is stepping out of the stereotypes, stepping out of a lot of things that you hear, and then really get to know a culture. And for me, it's like a continual learning. You have to kind of like keep doing it. I studied French for many years because I wanted to, eventually go to a French-speaking country, and I ended up here in the United States. When I arrived here and I heard a lot of people speaking French, the first people that I encountered and became my friends, even before I spoke, better fluent English, was the Haitians. And it was really interesting because I never met Haitian people before in Colombia. So it was such a wonderful friendship. I admire them. They're amazing, amazing people. And right now, I'm in love with them in the sense of they know so much. They have so much to offer to the world. And I have a lot of friends that are very knowledgeable about plants and plant medicines. And they're trying to do a lot of that here in South Florida, that they grow their own plants and they cook their own meals. And I love it.
Yes, and the plants, in Haiti, a lot of people use those plant medicines as well. So again, talking about culture that gets transmitted from one generation to the next, these are part of the things that are transmitted from one generation to the next, and that knowledge. And again, is it out of, yes, there's the cultural aspect, but I think it's also out of necessity. If you are in a country, if you live in suburbs that you do not have access to traditional medications, yes,
exactly.
Now more and more we import, but the further out you are from cities, the less you have access to a traditional medication. So
Exactly.
they have had over the years to learn to understand what can help them in nature so that they can get cured from whatever is available around them. So that, I think that knowledge, that's where it comes from.
Definitely. And it goes after, after all this, it goes to the connection of generations. I hear a lot of parents. I used to be a parent advocate in my county, and I heard a lot of, especially Haitian parents, telling me like, my kids don't want to speak Creole. They don't want to speak French. And we have older generations in our same household that do not speak English. So they're not speaking to each other. How can we, like start doing something about this? And the thing is like trying to understand these kids are first generation Americans. Like unless we offer things, in their language and try to like keep also teaching them about culture, it's not like a vacuum.
Well, that is such an important comment. You have multiple generations, they can't communicate with each other. So I think if you give them a Creole book, they might be, well, I'm not interested in Creole, but one of the goals with this bilingual version is that hopefully the kids are more open. And I can tell you, I have done an experience with a group of kids. I went to a school where they had a French and a Creole program in Miami. And a lot of the kids, they were not necessarily fluent in Creole. They spoke Creole in their household. So we read the text in English, and then I would read the Creole for them, and they only understood parts, some more than others. But they were very open, because the fact that there was the language that they're considered is theirs, which is English, because they were born here in Miami, they were more open to accept the Creole part of the text. The books have an international feel, so they don't feel, because what I've noticed sometimes, unfortunately, some of the books that are available in our culture, they look like they're from, a part of the world. Maybe they don't look as international as the kids would have wanted them to look. That way they feel comfortable that the book that comes from their country is as good as any other book coming from another part of the world. So that is one thing that was important to me, for the book to look and feel international, so that the Haitian child doesn't feel like he's taking a book that looks like it's that doesn't fit with the rest of the books, because they want to feel like they belong. They want to feel like they're proud of their culture, and that they have something that represents who they are and represents it well. So that is one of my overarching goal as well. I only have 3 books right now. I'm listening to feedback as well, so that we can continually improve that collection, so that we can help Haitians connect with their roots, and that they can be proud of where they come from.
I love the books. I love the books. And I have to say to parents also, because I want to promote these books as well as a language learning tool. Like in my household, we've been learning, French for years. And that's why I bought your books as well. And she also has like a collection that is a French and English. So she created the Creole books as well, and the French and English collection. And she went beyond just, language learning. She also did emotional learning, which I think is such a wonderful, important part of language resource books, because bottom line, we have plenty of those dictionaries and word dictionary books. But sometimes, we get, beyond the word dictionary phase, like with my kids, they know a lot of, words in French already. But I want them to kind of get into stories. And what I noticed about your books is that they have like a little story and some emotional learning throughout the story.
Absolutely. So the first step, in the French versions, I actually developed a methodology to support the learning. It's not to teach children how to read, but it's to support their efforts so that they have access to a level one book. The category level one book is not defined in French like it is defined in English. Those type of books are actually quite rare. When I tried to look for books for my kids, and that I realized I could not find books written in French that were level one, that my kids who were not very solid and confident in their learning and their reading skills, I said, if that concept does not exist, somebody is going to have to create it. And I volunteer. I was the first one to create that concept. So this is why in my French books, you will notice that I have colors. For example, here you see there are some letters are in red, some are in blue, and those I have three colors: blue, red, and gray. The gray letters are the ones that are silent. Unlike English, when you read in French, there are letters that you do not pronounce. And so all those letters, to help the kids know that you shouldn't pronounce those letters, I put them in gray, and they know they should not pronounce them. The other thing I noticed in French, when you're learning how to read in French, there are letters that need to be read together. And those letters, when read together, make a different sound than if the letter was read on its own. So it's a lot of things to remember for a kid that is just learning how to read. So I put those letters in red, and I explain the methodology in the back so that the parent or the teacher can explain to the kid, this is how you need to read this book, and this is how it's going to help you. When they are in red, it gives two signals to the kids. First of all, the first signal is that you have to read them together. The second signal, what I have in the back of the book, by association and rhyming, I show them a word and a picture which rhymes with that sound. So the kid, I try to use words that are very simple, that generally kids learn first, so they can know by association and rhyming that this is how you should pronounce the sound. The last thing is the letters that are in blue are sight words. This is a very common concept for somebody learning how to read in English, but the concept, again, is not a common concept in French, but it's actually a very important concept, because the sight words are words that, even though they are they have exceptions and they are maybe hard to read, they come back in the most simple sentences. The word and in French is et. And although it's a very common word, the kid, they learn how to read, how to say that word very early on. It's not that easy to read. So this would be a sight word that I would put in blue. And if the kid doesn't know how to read it, then the parent tells them, this is how you read that word. And you just need to remember that. Is, the word is in French. Again, a word that is very difficult to read in French, but it's such a common word in the most simple sentences. The boy is here, you would have is, and the kid needs to know how to read that if they're going to read short stories. So I put it in blue, and I've done the experiment with kids, my kids in particular. The word her in French, elle, they would read it, le. But if you once I told my kids, the word is in blue, and this is L, and every time they see the word, they see it in blue. It's like, oh yes, I remember it's an exception, and this is how I need to read it. So, and then I have the English versions, and you can either read it in French or in English or both. It's in a different background, which also I saw a lot of bilingual books. They will have the French and English, or the English and Spanish written in the same way. I find that to be confusing.
Yes.
So the kid needs to be paying attention. Is this English or is this, Spanish? So I said, I'm going to make it easy. In this book, if it's English, it's always in this colored background. Well, since the theme for this book is green, it would be in a green background. But if the book was in a theme that was purple, it would be purple background, just so to show you. So very easily the kid sees, okay, the purple background, this is the language. In this book, it's English. and the white background, it's French. So I think the more you have things that are easy, that the kid doesn't have to think about it. There's so much a kid has to think about when they're learning how to read. So
and I have to add, French is not the easiest language to learn.
And I can tell you,
French is this, oh my gosh.
You know, I can tell you something that I realized that was very important. My kids, they learned in French, the kids learn how to read in French in first grade. And they generally do not finish learning how to read French until the end of first grade. Some kids are faster. They might learn, you know, in the first few months. But as a general rule, the kid will finish learning how to read by the end of first grade or second grade. Whereas when I see that kids that learn how to read in English, they learn how to read in kindergarten and they finish in first grade. By the second month in first grade, the kid can read like paragraphs.
Yes.
Which is not the grade in French. And is it because the kids are slower? No. It's because there are so many more exceptions and so many rules that it takes longer to learn how to read in French. I see even my kids are learning how to read in English within a couple of weeks. They're not even complete. My son is in first grade. He's learning at the same time French and English. And in a couple of weeks, he was able to catch on the level in English compared to French, that it's taking a lot more time to learn how to read fluently in French, even though he speaks fluent French. So what I try to do is to eliminate as many problems or as many reflection as possible so that he can focus on the things that are truly difficult for French when he's learning how to read in French. So that was my goal. And now with the English that I bring on in the books that are bilingual, they can check their learning. If they're learning French and they don't speak French, they can check their learning. If it's in English, well, the kid has the French to check their understanding of the other language. So I see that the kids love it, which is pretty encouraging. I have a lot of parents that tell me that the kids love it. So
I love it that I'm not a kid. I love it that I'm not a kid. And by the way, what I think you're doing is very, very valid. And I think it's so important for parents to understand that learning another language can also be helped by another language. Like in my case, the fact that I speak Spanish had helped me immensely trying to understand the grammar and all the things for French. And what you're saying is true. Like, you know, most of the time parents just give up saying like, no, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be harder. Yes, it's going to be challenging, but at the same time, when we encounter resources like these ones that are, you know, making it easier for us to offer that to the children, why not using them? We are creating new tools every day to make it easier for children to get to that level. And it's not only because we want them to be multilingual just because. It's because we understand that this is such an important skill for them to have in their brain, in their daily lives. So, and the fact that you are making a visual help, you know, with the
this was very important as well. Absolutely.
Many kids, the way they respond, especially for language learning, is through visuals. So that's why a lot of teachers use a lot of visual helpers, even for adults. I mean, I have been a tutor of Spanish as well, and I noticed like a lot of adults need these visual cues for them to, you know, make it easier, because I always have to explain to them that if we are translating everything in our mind, we will never really get to speak that language. And the way it works is because every language is its own world.
Well, so, you have two important comments that you made about the translation in the mind, but the visuals, and I will address that one first. The one of the things that you would have noticed maybe is that the characters are very big. So at the end, what I try to do is one sentence per page, one idea per page. So the fact that we only have one idea per page, the images actually reflect what the idea that is contained in the sentence, which reinforces that learning and helps the child who is learning not only how to read, but a new language. So that was definitely intentional, and I intend to keep it that way because we try to communicate one idea per page. And even though some of them I say are level 1+, so they have the sentences might be slightly longer, just that the kid can evolve with time, and especially because I introduced some themes which you had talked about in some of the books. Sometimes it's slightly longer than a sentence, but it's still one idea that is communicated in one page. So the image really is the essence of what I'm communicating on that page. To go back to your comment about themes, yes, it was really, like you said, I do teach other things. I'm not a teacher that's not all I do. I'm an accountant. That's what I do accounting in my everyday life, and I work in a family business where I'm the head of the finance department. But I also teach in my free time on Saturdays and in afternoons. And one of the things that I really hold close to my heart and that I've realized personally and that I'm trying to transmit to my kids is that a lot of the emotional strength that you have are what define your ability to create and become a success. Whatever you do, whether you're an accountant, it doesn't matter if you're writing books. It doesn't matter if you're an accountant. It doesn't matter if you're a photographer. There are certain characteristics, and there's certain qualities that when you develop them will make the difference regardless what your calling is. And those are the themes that I try to develop in my books because I really care a lot about success and people being success in whatever they decide to be successful about. I do not try to define success in a specific way. I will define success whatever you want to achieve. But what do you need to do to achieve what you want to achieve is what I am trying to support people in their calling. So some of the books, this book, which is about skiing, is not really about skiing, but it's about perseverance. For me, regardless what you do, if you're not perseverant, you will not achieve and attain your goals. You will not be able to achieve what you set out to achieve. And a lot of the themes that I include in the books are themes that I want to be able to discuss with my kids. So it's also an excuse to have those conversations with my kids, to go back so many times to the book. Let's take the book. So I had even an incident this week with my daughter. I'm like, let's go back to this book and let's talk.
Yeah, like this time of the year. Let's go back.
Let's go back. And, my kids are very involved in the books. The characters are really caricatures of my children. So they know what the stories are about. They've read the stories. We talked about the stories, but sometimes they don't make the link between the incident and what happened in the book. And my daughter, I sat her down. I'm like, we're going to read the story. And when we got to the crucial part about giving and receiving, I said, we need to talk about that. You need to talk about gratitude because that's a side message of the book about Christmas, which is about giving and receiving. And the lesson in this book is the more you give, the more you receive. But it allowed me to talk about the theme of gratitude because I really felt there was a situation. She received a present and she started to cry. Yeah. And I said, oh my God, my heart was broken, but for the person that gave the present, but I really wanted her to understand how it was important for you to show gratitude if you want other people to give you presents. When you have a reaction like that, maybe you didn't do it in intention, and she was so sad when she understood. She's like, but Mom, it was the first time. I'm like, it needs to be the last time, and this is one of the side lessons that I feel that can help maybe parents get into those conversations through a story and making the link with the kid's reality. We know there's so many times where kids, they want to quit. And I hope that with this story, they can talk about that story, anything you want to do in life, you're going to have to persevere.
Yes.
And when the situation comes up, hopefully you can take the book and talk about it. Okay, this situation you want to quit, but listen, even if you were skiing, if you're going to be able to get good at skiing, you're going to have to persevere. Now, I know this is a math test. I know this is a math exam, but it's the same regardless what you do in life. Maybe it's about your dance classes. Maybe it's about something else or a subject in school. Everything in life goes back to that perseverance. Now, I have this other book. Oh, it's the one that fell on the floor. I have this one, which is about bullying, and it was based on a true situation that I faced with my daughter. She was at school, and there was a child that was telling her something about her bag, and I was hurt, and I didn't know how she would interpret the message, because I know sometimes she at school she would come back and tell me how she felt about the situation, and she was sad. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna mix all the stories, and that's where this story came from. And my objective was to help children cope with those situations. Somebody tells you something, and this book, it's about her bag, but it can be about, your shirt. There was a child that told me there was a kid in school that was telling her something about her shoes. And even though, parents, we cannot always be there for our children while they're at school, they need to be able to cope with that situation. And what I suggest kids in this book is that you cannot take what the other person is telling you and care more about their opinion of your things than what you think about your bag, your shoes. Their opinion cannot count more than yours. And of course, you have a reinforcement that you need to do. You need to repeat certain positive messages so that you ingrain it in your subconscious. So this is what, of course, I don't talk about the subconscious in the book, but I do talk about repeating positive messages, because it is important to repeat instead of repeating, oh my God, they're going to laugh at me. Oh my God, they're going to, this child is going to say this to me. If you try to reinforce the positive messages, there's something that happens in you. And when you're in a different situation at school, then you remember that their opinion doesn't count more than yours. And then you repeat those messages to yourself. You come back at school and you're stronger. And you can face that situation and not let that affect you the same way it would have affected you. Because telling the teacher, sometimes we don't know how the teacher is going to react. We don't know what the teacher is going to say. We don't know if they're going to brush it off. And the thing is the same in our child's heart. And so that's why I decided that the priority goes to reinforcing the child's character. And, that's one important step that we can take, and that the child can be empowered. Because I do believe in being empowered to face situations in life. That's the only thing that we can count on. We cannot necessarily count on the other's reaction. We cannot count on other people being nice with us. We cannot count on all those things. We don't know what people are going to tell our kids.
Yes, and actually that's why I feel like your books are so progressive. Because, I have to say, a lot of the times I've seen a lot of resources for language learning that stop just on language, resource for language. And when I saw your books and your passion for the well-being of the children, regardless, I saw that you were being very, very detailed about the intention on creating this line of books. And that's why, I wanted to have you in our IG Live. I'm very glad that you are able to give us, because that's how I am feeling right now. You are gifting us at this moment all your passion and your knowledge. And it shows one more time, that the resources and the books and the things that we chose to do with our children matter. I will say one more time, representation matters. Like seeing yourself in a book, seeing situations in a book that happens to you every day matters for a child. So, and what else if we can use these amazing resources and empower our children and empower ourselves to learn a new language?
Yes, and that it's all those things that are
Like,
combined
I'm
because
not fluent in French in
yes.
any way or form, but I never give up in my, introducing French at my household. And if you ask both of my children, they say, like, I expect them one day to be fluent in French. And not only in French, I introduce many languages at my household. And the reason for that is because I want them to empower themselves to have a voice in any languages wherever they go to. We are raising a new generation. Our children may not live in the same place we are living at this moment. They may marry people from other cultures, and I want them to understand that whatever their language or their home language is, it's just one part of who they are, but it's a special part. Because as you say at the beginning, language carries so many more stuff than what we think it carries. Like Haitian Creole, because I want to say to my audience, there are many types of Creole in the world. So Haitian Creole it has many beautiful, beautiful meanings to that only that language can carry. And the knowledge of that culture and the history of that culture. So that's the importance, hence the importance of keeping those languages alive and thriving, because we don't want those things getting lost in the future. And we want our children and next generations to be, the ones that are carrying that and teach those to their children.
And you know how you say meanings, I think I would use even the word, we can add the word nuances. And when a child or somebody learns multiple languages, you learn also to be more sensitive to certain nuances that only come with language. So it's all those things, I agree with you, are so important, but doing it intentionally, and I think at an early age, even though it might seem more challenging, but the kids are like sponges at the beginning. What might seem like a mountain when we're an adult to learn a new language, when they are young, they think that's normal. So you're telling them to learn 3-4 languages. My kids, they speak French, they speak Creole, they speak English, a little bit of Spanish. But for them, it's not abnormal that I'm asking them to learn all those languages, because that's what it's like you say, that's what you expect them to do. And their willingness and their openness makes that they will actually learn faster than if they try to learn it as a 35, 40-year-old, 50-year-old. Then it seems like an impossible task. But when we start early, and if La Petite Pétra can play that role of inspiring the kids to continue learning the language, I've seen reactions. I went to a bilingual school in Miami called Sunset Elementary, and the kids, they saw me after, and they keep coming back to the stories, and they're interested not only about the language, because some of them, they're not from parents that are French speakers. They're just from parents that want their kids to learn multiple languages.
Yes.
And the kids, some of the stories resonated with them, and they keep coming back to it. So I know they're going to go back to the book. And if I can play that role to inspire the kids to want to expand their knowledge of the language, I will be very satisfied. If I can play the role in the mental health of the kids, I know that I will serve them in ways that I will not be able to measure down the street. I'm somebody that has been very influenced by books. A lot of ideas that I have read in books, there are many ideas that have influenced who I am today, that have influenced things I have dared to do, dared to try. And one of the things that I want to do through my books is to free kids from mental blocks. And I know when you are bullied, that's why I decided to write about bullying. Bullying can have the negative impact of creating mental blocks for children. And for me, I don't want my kids to feel inferior because somebody else decided to tell them that they were.
Yes.
whether it was, that completely unjustified, does not prohibit the damage that can be caused to the kids.
Oh,
Same
definitely.
thing about mental blocks, somebody that is all about getting, and then the kid wakes up as an adult and doesn't understand why certain person, it feels that they're always getting so much from life and they don't get much, and they don't understand why, because
Yeah,
they never understood this universal principle about giving, not giving physical things only.
exactly.
You give your time, you give your attention, you give your love, you give your so many things you can give.
Well, give you gifts to the world, my love.
and
Everybody
then
brings
and
a
then
gift
things,
to the world.
you
It's
feel
supposed
like
to
your
be
life is so
given.
rich. You feel like your life is so rich after, but if somebody does not learn that early on, then
Mm.
you're an adult and you don't understand what's happening,
Yeah, and
because you
I
don't
feel like
understand the totality.
it's the whole society overall. We live in societies that are focusing so much in things that at the end the children are really not getting that understanding in life, because the focus is getting stuff and material and they have these ideas about being famous and being rich and become somebody famous, and I hear this a lot from young people. Even they tell me like, no, I'm not gonna have a career because I'm gonna be doing YouTube videos and I'm gonna earn money. I'm like like you don't understand how life really works, my love. Like like you need to get an understanding about like all of us have a vocation, all of us have like a path that we should be taking care of. And most of the times, if we don't have any guidance, especially when we are children, and sadly that's what we're seeing nowadays, a lot of parents have to do a lot of work, or they're immersed in other things, and it's sad to see like the lack of guidance overall in the world. But that's why we are trying here to make it easier, first of all, for parents, especially for parents that do not have like maybe knowledge of which way to go. Like sometimes I hear parents like, oh, I like to teach my kids that, but I don't know how to. So I always encourage them. The same for parents that maybe they don't have like a higher education, and they kind of use that also to explain like, maybe that's why I don't like to read, or I don't take my kids to the library. And I say to them, it doesn't matter if you don't know how to read. There are many things that you can do, starting by supporting the learning of your child. And how do you support the learning of your child? If your child is interested in something, or something that they want to do, just try to find a place where they can find a guidance, they can find a mentor, and they can find a place, because we need to acknowledge our limits, our own limitations as parents. So
And I don't think that parents can expect that everything has to come from them. We have a common saying, well, is it in English, or it takes a village to raise a child? I really do believe that. Whether it's family members, whether it's teachers, I don't think parents should have that realistic expectation that everything has to come from them. You do your best to put the kids in an environment where they're going to be able to capture what they can capture, but I don't think it's realistic to think that you will be able to transmit everything to your children, and you hope that your children are not exactly like you. You are the creator, but the kid at some point is going to have to become their own person. I say, I'm very close to my parents, but I'm also very different from my, I'm probably very similar from them in many ways. But I can tell you that in my immediate family, we don't necessarily write. This is not like I'm pursuing something that is from one generation to the next. But my other side of my career is probably very closely related to what my family does. I work in our family business. I have probably a very similar educational background. But there's another side of me that I'm developing that is not directly related to who my parents are and how they grew up or decided to lead their careers. So I think our kids, they're going to make their own experiences. And our role, in my opinion, as parents is to help them find those experiences that will help them move forward and make sure that they have the right mental balance. I do believe it makes a huge difference, because if you do believe you can do something, you will try to get the skills to do it. If you don't even think you can do something, you will not try to do it. And I think this is so important, and this is what I'm trying to hint in a very intentional manner in some of the books, and there will probably be more books written on those topics.
Thank you
because
so much,
I want the kids to be freed. If they do believe they can, if I did not believe that I could even carry out this project of La Petite Pétra because there was no example in my immediate family, then I would have never tried.
Yes.
And now we're here approximately over a year later, and 11 different books, titles, 17 different versions, and people are liking it. I'm trying to bring it out to the world. That's the big challenge that I'm trying to overcome. But I would not even try, and I would have never met you and many other people I'm meeting if I did not believe that I could.
Yes.
Now,
so Crystal, I will love for you to kind of like do a little message in Creole for the parents in Creole that maybe think like, oh, this is so hard to do, like keeping Creole at home. Like, would you please reach out to them?
Bon, pour Québec créole là, est-ce que nous avons haïtiens sous live là? Nous pouvons répondre si nous avons haïtiens sous live là. Non? Eh bien, nobody replied for now, mais en tout cas, Québec créole là, moi pense son choix. Et la petite Pétra, c'est comme première étape. Et moi connais nous faire sûrement à travers musique, peut-être Timounio et yo parle, mais pas connais si Timounio yo vive ici, est-ce que yo aime musique haïtienne, yo parle mais haïtienne, mais si nous partager avec yo Livio, c'est déjà une étape. Nous partager avec eux musique. Faut essayer. Si nous pas essayer, nous pas priver. Donc, moi, penser, son décision, si nous décidons n'a Québec créole à la famille, n'a Québec culture à la famille, et n'a besoin de ressources. Et moi-même, moi, porter une petite ressource, mais moi, sûr que si nous prenons décision, on a besoin de solution. And what I just said, if you do, I think it all starts with the decision. If you decide you're going to keep Creole, for example, in your family, you will find the resources. I'm only bringing one little bits of resources, but if you take that decision, you will find resources. Some people might do it with books, or some with family members, some with music. I know, of course, if some kids from the diaspora, they grow up here, they don't necessarily like the Haitian music, but some people will like the Haitian music. But if you take the decision that you are going to keep the language alive, you will find solutions.
Yeah.
One of the things that you have
I'm sorry. I will say to everyone that the link to the La Petite Pétra books are in my profile. I did a little interview on my website to Crystal, and you will get to know her a little bit more, but I have all her social media and everything in that link, so you guys can go there and check out more about all the line. I think this will be an amazing Christmas or end of the year gift for a family, or even for your local library. I have to say, actually, some of the books that I got from Crystal, I'm going to donate to our local library, because I think these books are amazing and they should be in our libraries for everybody to be able to use. And I'm so thrilled to have met you, Crystal, because I think you are one of the examples of a power energy mama. and you're so intelligent, and you are so motivated that we need to hear more from you, love. And please feel welcome to come to Mama Tortuga anytime. If you have a new book, I'll help you with the promotion here on our website. because that's exactly why we have our website. Mama Tortuga was created because when I have children, at one point I felt like very out of, of everywhere. Like I didn't have a community like that where I felt accepted in the sense of being me. Like you said, like, like I'm this kind of crazy Colombian chick who's raising multilingual children, and a lot of people will look at me like, what, like, what are you trying to do? And I say, no, it's impossible that in the world there are no other parents like me, and I want to try to find them, and that's how I started. Like it was like, yeah, I saw the need, and I wanted to be, like the bridge between, resources and activities and people and arts forms, and so far it's been like such a wonderful ride for me as a parent. I feel like everything that we have created, throughout these years through the website. I may not be like the most famous influencer, but I'm so glad for the community that we have created. It's a virtual community, but that's why these IG Lives series are called Community Friends, because I think, and everybody that I had invited so far to this series are people that are really, really trying to help our community in many ways. And you are doing it, Crystal.
Thank you so much, Joanna. And something important you said that I think we should bring out, you had that idea that you wanted to create Mama Tortuga, but the most important thing, you didn't leave it at the stage of an idea. And you took action, and this is the thing that I think is very important for children to understand and learn at an early age. And I admire you for that, for going from that idea, I want to build a community. I don't know yet how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And then as you go along, you meet wonderful people. Talking about language, that's another thing that is very special. The more language you speak, the more people you connect with. And at the end of the day, what's going to make, when you look at the summary of your life on your deathbed, let's say, what you're going to remember is those relationships you had along the years. And language is one of those things that allows you to multiply those connections that you make with people. So I think, you are an example for when children say they want to do this, that, you know what, you want to do it very well, but take action. And I think I always say that too. You have an idea, whether you can execute it perfectly or not. For me, that's not the biggest issue.
Yay!
But take action, because otherwise you can live in regret. I know myself, I don't want to live in regret. I rather an imperfect execution, but I got an idea into reality, than for it to stay in my head and to dream about it for 20 years. Yes. What would have happened if I carried it through? Now, it doesn't mean it's easy. I'm sure whether it's your website, whether it's this collection, our kids need to know that's not easy. Nothing is easy. Even if Mama Tortuga, it is to build a community, that was your ultimate objective. It's not an easy task. Nothing worth having in life is easy. And I think once you're comfortable with that it's not easy, then you can start the work. You don't have to worry about it. Oh my God, I didn't know it was going to be that difficult. Get ready. Nothing's easy in life.
Yeah, and it's not about the rest of the world to like judge what you're doing in the sense of if it's perfect or not. I had plenty criticism for myself, telling me that I don't have the right accent and all these, mumble jumble. That at the time it was very hurtful. Like I used to feel like, oh yes, maybe I should not be doing these lives because some people find difficult to understand my accent. But at the same time,